I think I know why with the babies, and we'll talk about that because we both have babies, but I want to know about the mamas and the grandmamas and why you feel like it was okay to shed whatever skins you needed to shed.
And I don't care how old we get.
Yeah.
And like I've watched elders die, and they, their bodies curl back into a fetal position.
Yeah.
It's like they're going back into a womb.
Yeah.
And I know that when I'm most vulnerable, that's what I do. I go into the fetal position. But it's where I'm safe. Wombs are wet and warm and protective.
Yeah, you're strong.
Yeah, so it's more like, what are the wombs I built around me? And when have I allowed myself to crawl into them? I'm learning to be more and more vulnerable with women and with all women, because I think that there's just amazing, powerful magic that happens in the company of women. When women gather. The flip side of that is I used to assume that every sister I met, that we shared the same frame of reference and context for certain cultural values or upbringing, and I was very naive about that. So in doing so, I got injured a lot. I'm sure I injured people because of the assumptions that I just made of like, you look at a sister like your sister, you feel me, and they're like, no.
You're like, oh.
I'm like, oh,
okay.
So it's that nonverbal stuff.
Yeah.
It's that grit you have when you do meet who looks like a stranger. A sister comes into your sphere who's a stranger, but she's really tried.
It's like the first time we met. I remember I walked into the meeting room and I looked at you and I was like, I know this woman.
Yeah.
I was like, I know this woman.
Yeah.
And I said, we've met before, haven't we? And you said, yes, we have. I don't know where. I don't recall when, but we've met each other before. And during that meeting, there were different moments where in the midst of the conversation, we make eye contact and there was all kinds of silent conversation going on over the heads of the white folk.
Right.
Where we were having a sister conversation over top of the heads of the white folk. Like, now, what he just said didn't make not in there a bit of sense.
Right. And I'm with them, but I ain't with them. I'm on the same committee with them, but
right.
That's what I
right. I was like, I see you. And I felt like you were looking at me like, exactly. I see you. Yeah.
Well, it's that, and we've talked about this, tribe recognizes tribe.
That's right.
And I am most happy and most vulnerable when I'm with tribe. And I can be unguarded, unplugged, totally vulnerable, totally transparent. Because I think that that's how we build true, authentic community. When we allow ourselves to be seen by other women at our best and our worst, when we can invite celebration, and when women can hold you up in grief.
Yeah.
There were women who ran from me when Imani was dying. There were sisters that, because they'd always been in my life, and I called them best friends, and we journeyed to so many different places in our lives, physically and spiritually and emotionally, that I knew they'd be there.
Yeah.
And they were absent. They were absent. They didn't know how to show up in the grief piece.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to show up in the grief piece. And you just learn that we're not all wired the same way.
No.
And I couldn't judge them because they didn't know how to show up. I knew.
Did they come back around?
Some. And then when I got ill myself, I was definitely ill 2011 until about 2014. I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, my brain wasn't working. And I remember when Duke told me I had about 4 months to live. And I called this sister who I considered in my sisterhood. And I left a message and I said, please call my daughter and my husband. I'm definitely ill. I need to have a conversation with you. I said, I want to see you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dying. I'm not too proud to beg. I want you to come visit me.
Mm-hmm.
That sister never called. Never returned that phone call. To this day, has never acknowledged that I ever
reached out to her. Why do you think that is? What do you think was happening with her when she was looking at you, standing at the place where you felt like your mortality was really speaking? What happened?
I don't know. I think people show up differently, embrace this. The fact that I was pretty academic about it, just like, okay, I'm dying. I need you to come see me. My daughter Imani modeled what transition looked like for me. And a very dignified, if you can use that word. I don't think any of us really die on our own terms when people say that. But Imani lived up to the minute she died.
That's a beautiful
Up until
thing.
the minute she lived, there was life in her. As she was transitioning, she was still living. She was like, yeah, I'm crossing over, but I'm still, I got 1 foot over here. As long as this 1 foot is over here, I'm going to live it.
Yeah.
I'm halfway over there, but I'm also over here.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see my sisters. I wanted them to come hug me. I wanted them to crawl up in the bed with me and pull me to their bosoms and cry with me.
Yeah.
I wanted them to give me neck massages. I wanted them to hold me.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, people who did show up were like new friendships.
Interesting.
Were women that I had not known that long, who showed up like, I'm here. What you need? I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm saying all of this to say, I can't judge. I don't know. And one of the lessons that my first husband taught me, I used to think that the way I loved was the way to love. And it took me about 11 years of marriage to this person to one day mature and say, oh, he just doesn't love the way I love, which does not translate into he does not love me. He loves differently.
That's a huge lesson. Jackie.
Yeah. So it comes back to this question of why the sisters weren't here.
Right.
I never doubted that they loved me. That never, even when a godmother who didn't show up, but who did the morning she died, calling me hysterical from another country, screaming and crying. And I just handed the phone over to another relative. And I said, I can't deal with this now. Because my child just died. I am not here to take care of you.
Yeah.
Don't call me screaming. I can't take care of you right now. And I ended up having to say that to her when she called me a few months later, all hysterical. And I had to say, wait a minute. You did not bury your child. You did not bury your child. Right now, I can't take care of you. If you need to have these emotional screaming episodes, I need you to call somebody else. And it took a lot for me to say that, because I felt like I was pushing that person away. But I was hanging on by a thread emotionally.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I truly understood what it meant to stand up in your power and take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because people will strip you bare, intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah.
And think back to Sonia Sanchez's book, Wounded in the Arms of a Friend. And, you may intentionally put a knife through my heart. It's still a knife and it's still going through my heart. So inside of all of that, I really had to become extremely, I don't want to use the word selfish, but extremely, my shields had to go up. My spiritual shields had to cover me, had to surround me. And then I got sick.
Yeah.
Imani died in 2009, 2011, undiagnosed chronic illness. I'm given 4 months to live.
Yeah.
So I had to address a lot of things. And I remember one of my godmothers came to see me and she looked me in the eye and she said, Are you trying to die?
Like you have a choice.
And she got up and walked out of the house.
Oh.
And she called me that night. She said, well, you let me know what you're doing. Like you've lost 65 pounds. You're not eating. Are you trying to die? What's going on? And only you can answer that. And I thought, well, dang. I'm abrasive and cold. And then I thought about it, and I had to ask myself, well, like, do I have the will to live?
Apparently you did.
Do I have the, yeah. But it comes back to, I think, knowing where your love base is. And I think so many of us, you know, it's like having the old home phone, and it doesn't work if you take it 2 rooms away.
Yeah.
If
you got to stay away from the base. From the base.
So,
first of all, that's old school. I think some people listening to this will not know what the hell you're talking about, because there was this YouTube.
Well, we still got one of those phones.
You still got a home base?
We still have 2 phones.
You have landlines.
We have landlines that don't work outside, and the only reason we have landlines is my 102-year-old mom lives with us.
That's right.
And she didn't know anything about cell phones.
Right.
And so when the landline rings, it is from my mom, or it's a telemarketer.
Got it.
But yeah.
But that base, if you get too far away from your base, you lose. So,
you can't walk outdoors and have a conversation.
You can't. You know what's interesting that you saying that? Knowing who your base is such a powerful sense of safety and security. So, you know, when I got sick back in June, and you were in Morocco. You were in Morocco. And Mama Nia from Spirit House texted me and said, Mama Jaki is upset. I don't know if you said to her, what the hell is going on with Omi Sade? But
I sent her a message, and I was like, in couch, what is going on? Why is she in the hospital?
And then you called me from Morocco.
Yeah.
And was like, what is going on? What is going on? I need to know what's going on with you. And it was a reminder with you, and there were also, you know, there was this constant touching that I was experiencing. Some of it was physical touch in the space of people who came to either the hospital or to my home, but there was also touching that happened for people who couldn't reach me, but they were touching. You were touching me. It kind of reminds me of that scene in we went to Brewster Place when the sister's little boy sticks that fork in that light socket.
Oh yeah.
And she gave up. She tapped out. She was like, the worst thing, you know, it's like the unimaginable.
Right.
Like the unimaginable has happened, and her girlfriend, because she stopped talking, she stopped eating, she stopped washing, and her girlfriend brought her back to life. So when you talk about home base or the womb space, she put her in the tub. Remember that?
That's right.
She put her in the tub and she washed her until she started screaming.
That's right. And I've had women do that. I mean, I could sit here and give so many different examples of different times in my life when it wasn't a tragedy of losing Imani, but just some other emotional hurdles where folks literally snatched me. And I think that now we have kind of bought into this, well, you know, it's not really my business. And I keep telling people, if I see Omi crossing the street and there's a big truck coming towards her, and I don't run out to pull her back or scream, Omi, it's a truck. And then Omi is laying on the ground, and I stand there and with pushing my chest out saying, well, you know, I knew it was a truck. I knew it was a truck. I could have told her, but it wasn't my place. It wasn't my business. And I think we have forgotten where our place is. And our place is beside each other. Yeah. Our place is, you know, I'm grateful that there have been women in my life that have like pulled my coattail and said, "Oh, sis, you know we don't do that. Have you lost your mind?" You know, so when I'm pulling younger sisters and saying, "Why are you letting folk walk up one side of you and down the other?"
Right.
Yeah, I am getting in your business.
Yeah.
Because I know where this is